Okay, gang, before we get to this video, which is about sanding, I figured I would try to at least give someone some decent information about stuff. So here we go. Look, my top 5 or 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tips for better sanding. And the first tip is having the appropriate PPE, the personal protective equipment. For example, this outfit I have on protects me from people that may think I have a job, which doesn't necessarily work for sanding. It's effective against salespeople. However, this P100 mask, I like. I mean, they're not great. None of them are particularly comfortable, but I find I can wear this one. Looks a little bit like you cook some meth in. Don't do that. It's not rated for that. But I find that I can wear this with safety glasses and hearing protection, and it doesn't, the seal is managed okay. So this is something I've got to do a lot better with, because sometimes I'll come down and just start sanding, and it is not good for you. 2, use good sandpaper. I use the 3M Gold stuff. I really like it. It tends to last a little longer. But that said, we should be going through sandpaper like it's free. There's no sense in burnishing a piece of sandpaper smooth. It's just not, it's going to stop cutting. It's not efficient. You're going to basically lose money at that point in terms of getting the job done. And speaking of sandpaper, you're going to want to follow and go through the grits. I use the European standard, the P grade grits. 80, 120, 150, 220, 320, 400, etc. Sometimes up to 6. Look, basically don't skip a grit, because you're just going to make your life miserable. And, that's not cool. Sanding's rough enough, no sense to make it any worse. And of course, the next tip is use an appropriate sanding block. I have an entire box full of them right here for sanding the various nooks and crannies associated with a guitar. Sometimes you got to do inside corners, outside radii, whatever the right word is, flat stuff, special stuff. I keep a whole box. You really don't want to be sanding with your fingers, because you're gonna put divots into the work. So use a good sanding block, whatever comes closest to the radius that you'll see that you're trying to sand. And that's, of course, and last but by no means least, and this should be obvious, although it wasn't necessarily to me, good lighting. You've got to be able to see the scratches of what you're working on, and having a low raking light. I have a window over here, and then the days that it's not cloudy or nighttime, I can kind of hold the work up, see what's going on. I've got a light I keep over here too for just that purpose. So let's get on with this fantastic art film I call Sanding a Guitar Neck. It's pretty boring, but we're on that process. And in this, we're just sort of sanding the neck for a Kodama XI up to P150. I don't take it beyond that, because, we've got plenty of work to do on the frets, and it's really easy to sort of drip glue accidentally on the side of the neck, and it makes it harder to clean up if you've, polished it up to your final grade. All right, well, here we go. And I don't want to say enjoy, but okay, here we are observing the social primate using a sanding block to sand the neck, trying to practice what I preach. And it's also worth mentioning to be mindful of your work. Check your stuff frequently, particularly when working with the lower grits. And in this case, you can start to see me sort of query the neck. I'm trying to get a feel for how this thing might play. I'm looking for flat spots, bumps, uneven surfaces. This is the user interface after all, and we want it to be right. It takes a lot of elbow grease to do that, and as you can see here, trying to get that transition to the headstock is always a challenge. And speaking of challenges, the curve that leads up to the fretboard is always a little tough due to the fact that much of it is end grain. So this is one of the instances where I will use a little power in the form of an oscillating spindle sander. That said, I dare not use anything below 220 on this thing for fear of doing more harm than good. Okay, that's enough sanding for today. We'll just leave it here, and thanks again for watching.